getting cheesed out and down in game one. He still like remained cool and focused.
I feel like he's, again, I'm just going to keep saying this, I think he's the best player in the world right now. I think clearly as well. Like, I'm not just saying like, oh, he's only slightly better than the other. No, I think he's the clear best player in the world right now. Let's see if he can continue to show it. I mean, he was massively behind in this game as well. TY got the third base up for free. Had a great army, a great push potential. We were going to a late game that was slightly favored for him, but Classic knew everything he needed to do to turn that game around. Let's go into game number 2 to see if TY can tie it up, or if Classic is going to the round of 8.
Push it, push it, push it, push it.
Down here in the bottom right, the challenger, it's TY.
There he is. Very handsome.
Very handsome.
And up here in the top left, we do have the Protoss player up a game after being tested for so long. It is Classic, Season 2 winner. Looking to win this one as well. Hopefully not against a teammate this time.
Yeah, hopefully not, man. I want this finals to be epic. And even though, you know, teammate finals can be epic, I just feel like, in general, it's just a much more exciting story when you have two players from two different sides of, you know, not being able to practice near each other, not knowing each other well. The cool thing about finals that are team kills is sometimes you see crazy builds, but I'd rather see like super legit, like, insanely well practiced standard play than to see like kind of mind game-esque play. That's my personal opinion on the matter, though.
Yeah, I do like it going to the distance, but I think like if a player is known for his extreme greed, then he should be punished for it, because there shouldn't be just one way to play every game. Like, you have to have got to have variety. You got to be able to absorb different sort of styles and play smart.
I want to talk about this exact thing for a little moment here. We're going to see TY change it up, goes for a CC first here. Classic does scout that, but we saw Dream play basically the exact same game every time in all of his matchups that he played versus Myungshik. He won against Myungshik the first time, but when they rematched, Myungshik just dominated the series and was able to beat him. You know, even after losing a game where he accidentally move commanded his Colossi, he was still able to come back and win. That's the kind of play where you see someone playing in a group like this in the same matchup twice, where your opponent adapts and you don't. What I'd like to see from Classic this game is a bigger adaptation. He still won the first game, but he was not aggressive enough. He was not scouting TY's greed. And I feel like if he scouts a little bit more aggressively in this game, as we already see him do right at the beginning of this game, I feel like he could be a bit more aggressive, because even though Classic doesn't show it very often, he is really good at timing attacks. He's, you know, in the 1 of 1,000 game he does like an Immortal Bust, he does really well with it. It throws people off. I think it'd be one great way to just close the series out, get out of the group, and get out of here, not have to play any additional matches, not to show any more builds, just do an all-in, do something more aggressive. Not even necessarily an all-in, but kind of more like pressure.
What I would say is a proxy Stargate would be a great way to kind of shake things up against TY during his build orders, and that's certainly not an all-in at all. It's a great way to put yourself so far ahead as a Protoss player, and then go into a macro game where you have a clear lead for most often the majority of the game to come.
Yeah. He still has a probe out there. It escaped from the SCB.
Doesn't look like he really wants to play that kind of game. He's like, you know what, play another one of those games, or at least to start things off here.
I think he might have been thinking, too, like, what if TY proxies his factory, because he's been known to do that a lot, so he might have been checking for that as well. It's going to be a fast third CC, though, from TY, so he's playing insanely greedy. Let's see if Classic scouts this early on.
I like this straight-up Robo this time around. Not trying to mix things up too much. You know what I'd love to see, though, is double Forge. Play for that, the insane greed. Though at the same time I say that, I think back to Hero and how he does against Flash in this kind of situation. He does go for that Robo, he does go for double upgrades, and he gets overwhelmed in the mid-game because he was also that greedy, but not as greedy, I guess, in a way, as Flash usually is.
Sure, so basically to, like, I guess put that in another way, I totally get the idea you're saying. It's like the idea is Flash gets his greed up faster, gets an army with it, and then the greed of upgrades is just not, it's not comparable to building an army. It makes you have less of an answer, because as a Protoss, you don't just build gateway units to fight a early bio. You have to get the AoE out. So if you spend your gas on forges, that's greed in one way, but the Terran player already powered up his attack, and then he's this army units that you don't have an answer for because of your greed. So it's like the wrong kind of greed for that situation.
The army kind of comes online a lot later than the Terran army. The Terran army will look for Bio Viking sort of a timing attack, whereas Protoss has to wait that little bit longer until the later game when they have the Templar 3-3, and then they really come in and force for full force.
Sure. I like this kill at the cooling tower here, very early on. Stalkers can actually kill that so fast because they do bonus damage to armor. The cooling tower is armored. So 0 extra armor as was shown there, but it goes down pretty quick to these 2 units, so just drop that down, add a third base. See, I like this response a lot because it's not just like last game, since he just simply didn't scout the third, he played really safe and then also didn't have a third base. And he still ended up winning the game with supreme decision making, great control, etc. But in this particular game, I feel like just doing something like this, because even without seeing the third CC like with his eyes, he can judge that it's there based on what's happened in this game, which last game he just simply did not. Now he's going to confirm. Look at the way he sends the observer, and he's checking the exact location where he knows the third CC is going to be. He's already expecting it, and now he's going to have that 100% confirmation.
Indeed.
And now I feel like he can add a forge.
Yeah, you should add a forge to start the +1 armor. That would usually be the natural sort of thing after going for that Robo Bay and that third base here. But he's cutting corners to get this kind of greed out there. He is taking taking a lot of shortcuts to get.
Sure. There's the forge, but he gets an immortal first. Like, this is the kind of back and forth sort of play I like a lot. He just takes one greedy move, then does something a little bit safer, then pushes the forge out because he knows the Terran is getting upgrades. And that third Nexus is going to finish just in time to be able to be overcharged, and that's really important. The stim is very late. He knows the stim is late because he knows it was a CC first, so this is a fight that he should be able to take with good force fields.
Yeah, but +1 is going to be finishing out. That's what TY is waiting for. So he's looking for it, but he does see the army and is a pretty heavily invested in army. 3 sentries, 3 stalkers.
And the Immortal now especially as well to just blast that
Immortal across the map there. It could be a bit of a problem. Oh, Marine attacks it too early there.
He's like not paying attention at all. Okay, this could actually be a good bait though. He has high ground vision with that observer. Nah.
No, well, the moment that Marine attacked it, it gave him a warning so he could pull it back in time. If the Marine didn't attack, he would have jumped on top of it and killed it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a mishap there. Wasn't paying attention. Wasn't expecting that, that's for sure.
Yeah. The bait I was referring to is just like if he actually tried to fight it and Classic was ready, I mean, it was definitely not intentional. It was just really, literally rallied to where that observer was, right? So could have been a disaster, but luckily for him, that Marine was in the wrong spot. Well, this game is kind of stabilized here because he wasn't able to attack. Classic was kind of in the defensive mode. Upgrade-wise, Dream, or I keep calling him Dream because I'm so hyped on that Dream versus Classic finals. TY is still ahead in upgrades, and he's getting just additional barracks up and bolstering his Marauder count. He may look for a timing, but he's not ahead enough, I feel, to where it's a good idea.
Well, we do see that armory on the way, so it looks like he's prepared to invest into the late game once again. That 4th and 5th racks going up. He's just kind of getting everything up and running, destroying the debris where he can, so he can go for those attacks later. But it doesn't look like he wants to invest into try and jump on top of this army, or not at least until the medivacs come across the map. He gets a great scan on what he sees of the army. He's like, well, I can actually jump on that if I have the right concave. So opening up all avenues right now to go for that attack.
Yeah. Charge on the way here, finally. A very critical upgrade for holding pushes like this. We saw Classic rely basically on pure charge zealots to hold his third base in the last game. Big double drop heading towards the natural now. He's warping units. He does realize it's here. Several Marauders in this army, but he is just going to have to pick up and get away with it. Cannon doing so much to help defend as well.
There we go. Armor once again being upgraded here, and charge now on the way. So everything kind of getting up and running for Classic without taking any damage whatsoever. It's kind of the scary situation. Ooh, that's
really liking these little turrets, man. He's doing it every game. He's just like, oh, why would I use scans? I could just put a turret here. No. This game has basically just been a game of chicken almost to a certain extent. Classic on the defense, but TY can't overextend or it's going to cost him big. Setting up to potentially drop here.
Looks like he's kind of getting ready for it in case he has to. He's waiting for more medivacs, I think. because he doesn't really want to try and fight with his main army without any sort of medivacs to help out. But it's kind of a hard situation to try and engage into because Classic's very happy just staying on these 3 bases, splitting his army up appropriately. But that kind of size drop might be able to just crush what's there.
This is a very serious one. There's a lot of hesitation, actually, in his movements here. He's going to go for it, though. There's a lot of Marauders in this army. He's also got a Widowmine dropping down as well to give extra support. And the Zealots are funneling through the choke point, and he's got this army set up to come for the flank as well.
Oh, wow. This is actually going to catch his Colossus out, completely out of position here.
Yeah, he expected the attack at the 3rd base, so he left a lot of his units over there, but it's actually coming right into the natural. So basically, it's the whole army of TY versus half of Classic's army. He's killed a ton of probes here.
Oh, man, even getting the Robo at this point. Free reign to the main base right now, and still a lot of units left over in that drop.
Oh, man, so much lost mining time still. I mean, you see probes littered all over the map. Now hitting the 3rd base with a few Widowmines help zone out. Is he going to see? Okay, sends 1 Stalker for it, but there's still way more than that. Okay, a few more Zealots are going to eat these shots.
Big hits here. Not going to kill the Nexus either. Going to have to pull out.
Oh, man, but he's back here at the natural again. Again, denying mining time. Maybe get an Archon and get out. I think that would be fine. He's going to get a few more Zealots, perhaps, as well, just constantly threatening. And he keeps reinforcing so that army in the middle of the map that could hit the 3rd base gets stronger and stronger. And you might actually just solidify his army with those extra medevacs and hit the Nexus. It's down on shields.
Still a pretty scary army, though, for Classic. He's sitting at the natural now. Scan goes down and reveals where it is. Currently, he can try for it. He might get it this time. Oh, so much damage from these Marauders.
Yeah, and, you know, half the shields were gone. Those Widowmine hits, though, a bit of friendly fire on that Bioforce. He's definitely going to have to leave. What does Classic do from here? He's got a terrible economy. His army isn't large enough to really do a counterattack that's big, so I think he just kind of has to Chrono Boost out Forge upgrades and play a bit Turley for the rest of this game, or at least the rest of the mid-game, I should say.
He's going to have to try, but you know he's constantly being pressured. There's no letting up from TY. He's pretty much parade pushing across the map to just outside the bases and going for multiple drops again and again. And look at the supply difference right now. He's up 40 supply, and he's got that momentum behind him.
This is so funny. Medevac will finally get targeted there by Classic with that 1 Marine in the perfect spot.
It's going to be a hard fight here. He's going to try and split up the army again, but the AoE capabilities of Classic right now is terrifying.
His multitasking, though, not so much, because he is, again, out of position and a very late reaction to this drop. He's going to lose that Nexus that was already damaged. His army's just too small. Like, he needs to fight it all together, and TY is just not allowing that to happen. So even if he kills this...
Eating pure Storm right there, but... yeah, nothing left here. The last Colossus at that 3rd going down.
Look at the rest of TY's army. It's not even with this. He's got a whole 2nd army in the middle of the map that he could just 1A into this, but instead he's just fighting with half of his army. Look at that. So much waiting over here to just join up. Classic is being whittled away here, piece by piece.
Yeah, this is a frustrating game to deal with. You know, just not finding any sort of space at all. And TY from here, there's Classic being pressured. What can he possibly do in this kind of situation? All he can do is hold on and rebuild these bases again.
He's just hoping to turtle. But, like, in this case, Dream is not all in. He's already got another CC up. He's got 3/3 upgrades, so he's getting further and further ahead on upgrades.
Ooh, here we go again. TY with the drop on top of the Colossus this time.
Yep, and on top of those Templar as well, helping to zone them out.
And might be too much this time.
I think this is going to be the last engagement here. The Widowmine shot's decent. He's got his medevac's starting to run out of energy, but it's just too much. GG.
What a beatdown.
That was an insane amount of aggression.
Beautiful thing there. That's exactly what he had to do in game 1. You know, not allow Classic to get into his groove, get up the 4th base, and get the army he desires. Instead, keeping the pressure on early after having a greedy opening like that.
One of the sickest moments in that game was when, instead of hitting the 3rd base like Classic expected, he went for the natural and sandwiched that army. He fought his entire army together versus half of Classic's.